because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
Read my lips.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
Intelligence gathered by this and other governments leaves no doubt that the Iraqi regime continues to possess and conceal some of the most lethal weapons ever devised.
If you like your current insurance, you will keep your current insurance. No government takeover, nobody's changing what you've got if you're happy with it.
Operation Fast and Furious, an Obama administration program that let thousands of assault weapons fall into the hands of violent Mexican drug cartels. Guns found at over 170 crime scenes, including the murder of a U.S. Border Patrol agent. The Obama administration denied the program's existence and withheld information to protect political appointees. The Dallas Morning News calls this a cover-up. Will anyone be held accountable?
Those agents left with boxes and cards and bags of what we presume is evidence. As they were leaving, I counted 9 boxes and cases and 1 paper bag, including some of the boxes that had to be carted away.
When I saw the news story, I was just absolutely horrified.
State Senator Leland Yee is referring to a recent CBS 5 report about the so-called bullet button.
It is extremely important that individuals in the state of California do not own an assault weapon. I mean, that's just so crystal clear. There's just no debate, no discussion.
Behold Raymond Shrimp Boy Chow, one of the most notorious gangsters from the bad old days of San Francisco's Chinatown from the 1970s and the 1980s.
Chow was 16 when his family moved to San Francisco in 1976. The smallest of 5 brothers, his grandmother called him Ha Jai, or Shrimp Boy. He says when students at Galileo High School made fun of his poor English, he shot one of them in the leg. By age 18, Chow was behind bars for robbery. In the mid-1980s, he was out of prison and was back controlling the gambling dens. In this photo, a young Raymond Chow hodes the then new technology that brought the gang down, his cell phone. Based on wiretaps, gang members were charged with racketeering, heroin smuggling, and murder for hire. Chow was convicted of gun running and sentenced to 23 years in federal prison.
Now, eventually, Raymond Shrimp Boy Chow turned state's evidence against another gangster, and so he got out of prison early in 2006. He's had a fairly high-profile existence since then, claiming that he's turned over a new leaf. He says he's now a force for good in the community. Well, today at 5:30 a.m. local time, FBI agents descended on his home and his offices and arrested him along with 26 other people across Northern California in a huge corruption, gun-running, racketeering, drug trafficking sting, and at least one accusation of murder for hire.
I don't know how much more corruption we can have in this country before the people wake up. Our government is totally corrupt. At the highest levels. It's almost like it's a prerequisite that these people have to be corruptible and Machiavellian, and that's how they get put into place so that they can do these evil things. Like we've got Leland Yee, an anti-gun socialist, Democrat, high-level guy, 30 years in San Francisco politics, senator, trafficking in weapons, and trafficking with a known gang member who happens to be a Freemason, head of the Gi Kung Tang Freemason Lodge in San Francisco, Chinatown. Happens to be a Mason, just happens to be it. And what about Eric Holder? Is he going to give this guy a pass like he gave Harry Reid a pass? The level of corruption is so unbelievable, and our president, if you want to call him the president, the illegitimate president, Obama, eviscerates the Constitution constantly, and he taught constitutional law. These people all know what they're doing, especially Holder. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're sociopaths. They literally are sociopaths because they are just bent on their new world order. This world socialism that's coming into place. How much more corruption? How much more corruption do we have to have? If Holder doesn't do something here, we know that we are doomed.
Abramoff has admitted to bribing as many as 20 members of Congress.
Campaign contributions for legislation.
It's a political witch hunt.
Former Majority Leader Tom DeLay
admonished for failing to carry out his duties.
So today I am announcing my intention to resign.
Mark Foley.
Charlie Rangel.
Robert W. Ney, guilty.
William Jefferson. John Edwards.
Senator Menendez.
Congressman Randy Duke Cunningham.
The truth is I broke the law.
We're about right and wrong and not about black or white, Republican or Democrat. And it is flat out wrong for a candidate for the U.S. Senate to be stealing her campaign funds.
Do you think this somehow changes things on Capitol Hill? And
politicians are doing huge favors for their biggest donors. FEC and the IRS have both been pathetic.
Hold up your money!
Ray Nagin is now a convicted felon. A convicted felon not once, but 20 times over. The then mayor of the city of New Orleans, who never sent the buses, is going away to prison for a very long time. The decision came in a New Orleans courtroom just a short time ago. A jury found the former New Orleans mayor guilty of bribery, guilty of corruption, guilty of fraud, guilty of money laundering, guilty of false tax reports, found him guilty on 20 of 21 counts against him. The one he was found not guilty on was a bribery charge, but he was found convicted. He was found guilty of receiving a $200,000 bribe from one man and a $25,000 bribe in a separate case from that same man. His family sent on lush vacations to Hawaii and beyond while he sat back in New Orleans messing with the city. All of this crime and corruption began before the hurricane in 2005 and continued after it.
From Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington,
singles out 82 members of Congress for putting family members on their payroll.
A new report from the watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington. 15 former Bush administration officials hold positions with companies that do business with their old agencies.
Folks are there to further their own financial interests rather than our public interests. So no disrespect to any of you intended personally, but the fact is America doesn't trust you.
a government watchdog group now says more than 10 million White House emails are missing.
People around the world admire our government for being an open form of government, and here we have the vice president who is undermining that completely by making everything he does and every piece of paper a secret.
That eventually claimed the lives of the US ambassador to Libya and 3 other embassy staff.
We are coming on the air because we have just learned that the US ambassador to Libya has been killed. It happened overnight.
But I was pretty certain and continue to be pretty certain that there are going to be bumps in the road.
The unrest we've seen around the region has been in reaction to a video. We were not aware of any actionable intelligence indicating that an attack on the U.S. mission in Benghazi was planned or imminent. That report is false.
We've seen rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video.
In fact, it began spontaneously in Benghazi, sparked by this hateful video.
Definitely it was planned by foreigners, by people who...
I mean, look at these people. They are corrupt, unbelievably corrupt, and sociopathic. They see nothing wrong with what they're doing. Hillary Clinton thinks she's, wonderful. And so does Bill. I mean, how many times do we have to think that these people are wonderful people? Oh, it doesn't matter what they do in their private life. Really? Isn't that shape their character? Doesn't it shape who they are? Your senators, they're entrusted And they're willfully selling out the freedom of the American people. All of these people, all of these congressmen and senators that are caught doing these things. I mean, this is, with Yi, it's unbelievable. But again, this is this whole thing. It's like, it's a bigger picture than this. I mean, it's not just a coincidence that these gangs are with the Masons. It's just not a coincidence, okay, ladies and gentlemen? I don't want to go too deep into this, but the Masons are involved. Remember who our president, so-called president again, Obama, is a Freemason. This cannot be discounted. And then what's been going on, and the fact that there is a socialist need. So Obama serves a great purpose because he's such a good liar and he's so believable, and people, he can lie over and over and over again, and people just keep letting him do it. Congress doesn't do anything. Well, why would you think that would be? Is it because of the money, or is it because of the oath? And they're moving something forward. They're achieving their goals slowly. These little programs getting put into place, these collectivist measures, are taking away the rights of the people. It's destroying this country. There's no doubt about it. You can't raise minimum wage and expect a business owner that is just struggling to get by, and he's got 5 or 6 employees, to absorb that cost. You can, if it's a flourishing chain, a larger corporation. But what they're doing by this is they're going to kill all the little guys, all the small business owners, the mom and pop business. We know the mom and pop businesses have been decimated. And it started in the 80s with the big chain stores coming in the malls and shopping malls and everything else. And now we have Walmart and Target and all these. Well, Target grew. They've been around a long time. And so did Walmart. Whether your representative is actually representing you. They've grown into these huge companies that dominate the market. And the little guys that live in the community that own their own little shop can't compete with. They've been yelling and screaming about this for years. Decades. And who gets all the breaks? Who gets all the incentives? And then where do they get their goods from? Their manufactured goods from China. From American companies that manufacture their goods in China. It's true. These are the ways to help. You just stop all of this corruption. First of all, we have to get people in there that actually are not politicians, that are not paid for. That's why we really do have to have term limits. See, this whole use of this communism is very tricky. They're using it with taxation and with regulations to put it into place, and trade deals. That's how they're doing this. And it's very, very insidious, very evil, but very real. You see so much evil and so much corruption. Just how much has to happen before the people just start saying, wait a minute, these guys are all crooks. They're covering for each other. And that's exactly what they're doing. But don't believe me. Find your own truth. There is only one truth. Seek and you'll find it.